Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Yorkville Sports. You're in the nest, the Eagles Nest, and I'm your host, Joe Patrick. Well, today we have a little backpedaling to do because we have to go back a couple of weeks. We haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. Actually, this is only our third broadcast of the year. So we want to go back and tell you about the hot stove competition in Columbus Day, the hot stove competition in Columbus Day. And we also want to talk to you about the last week, October 17th, the results from last week's October 17th. So when we return, we're going to give you all the scores and a rundown from hot stove and the 17th of October when we return. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back, and as I said, we have a little bit of backpedaling to do. There was a week in which we had that bad rainstorm, and all that rain came in. It was really cold that weekend. We didn't get any of our games in. A couple of our teams did play. Don't really have results from a lot of those teams. That was the week before the week before Columbus Day. I think the 10U team did get a game in. One of the 10U teams did get a game, and I think it was 10U South. I'm not quite sure about all the other teams. So when we do give you the results or the standings, when we close out the report this week, when we give you the standings might be off about a game or two. But those of you out there who are aware of the standings, maybe you should send it in to us and let us know what it's all about. Kylie, maybe you can give us a little help out over here. And basically that's it. So we're going to try to get you all of the correct standings in the weeks to come. So we're just going to give you what we have. Hot stove. Hot stove tournament was a hot stove for all of our Yorkville teams. We didn't get a winner in this tournament this year. We had some good play, but we didn't get it done. Some of our teams were blanked. Others did manage to win a game or two. So in total, where we played, all of the teams played, actually. This was one of the first tournaments that every single team that represents Yorkville they were all out at the hot stove tournament in Long Island. So anyway, we're going to start off with the 8U South. 8U South won 2 games, and they lost 2 games. They scored a total of 28 runs, and they gave up 35 runs. So there's 28 runs for us, 35 runs against us, and that was the 8U South team. The 8U North team didn't win a game. They were 0-3, no wins on 3 losses. They only scored 8 runs in that. Remember, that's a young team, very young. And they got it handed to them. I have to say, they did get it handed to them, but hey, listen, tournament play is really tough. So they scored 8-4, 48 against, 8-4, 48 against. On the 9U North team, they didn't get any victories. They were blank. They had no wins and 2 losses. And they had 1 tie, no wins, 2 losses, and 1 tie. They scored only 1 run in the tournament, and they lost. They gave up 24. The 9U South, they only scored, in fact, they lost all 3 of their games, so they were 0-3. And they scored 4 runs, and they dropped 53. Right? Remember, this is a tough tournament. Hot stove. It was hot stove out there. Our 10U North team, they won 1, lost 2. They scored 14, 49 against. The 10U South, and that's pretty interesting because 10U South, that's the Clark Wright and Nick Hazenberg's team. They lost all 3 of their games, but they were close from what I do understand. It was 12 runs for us, 18 runs against. 12 runs for, 18 against. A couple of those games were 1-run losses. And, either way, if they would have just gotten a run, I guess they would have either tied or an extra run, they probably would have won the game. So, but they dropped all 3. And this is unusual because this team usually at least scores and enough to win at least one of the games in these tournaments. So, anyway, no harm, no foul. Remember, these hot stove tournaments or all these holiday tournaments, they test your mettle. They see what you have, and then we bring it back to our league play, and we get back to our winning ways. Remember that in the tournaments that go on the holiday tournament, the Columbus Day Hot Stove, we have the best from all over the city, Long Island, the tri-state area. They do come out to play. And again, these teams, they get ready for tournaments. That's all they do. They're tournament teams. In fact, then most of the teams are comprised not only of players that play in and around their community, but they're pick and choose players from different teams to put them on these tournament teams, which I think is really unfair. We don't do that. But that's what they do, and, we just take our team and we go out there and we just have fun. It's good for the guys, good for the families. They get out there, it's more to it than just playing and winning baseball games, especially at this level. This is not PSAL, this is not high school or college NCAA or anyway, semi-pros or anything like that. This is Little League. This is the little guys getting ready. They're learning the craft. So anyway, with that said, our 11U North team won 1, lost 2. They had 24 runs. They scored 24 runs, and they gave up 24 runs. So somewhere along the line, maybe two of the teams that they played just scored more runs than they did. And in one of those games, I think maybe they put a smackdown on somebody anyway. Then the 11U South, they won 2, lost 2. They played 4, won 2, lost 2, 23 for us, 26 against us. 23 for, 26 against. 12U North, they were 1-3, won 1 game, lost 3 games. They played 4, 14 for us, 38 against. The 13U team, they were 2-2, won 2, lost 2. They were 22 runs for us, 21 against. Now, somewhere along the line, in that if they could have eked out 3 wins, they would have went on into that championship round, I believe. And they just missed it by a run or 2, because to score 22 runs and for you, and then you dropped 20. The other teams only scored 21. Somewhere along the line, they gave up a lot of runs in one of their games, so they didn't make it all the way through. And rounding it out, the 14U team, they were 1-2. They won 1 game, lost 2, 13 for 25 again. So that was a hot stove tournament. It was really a hot stove out there. Those guys, hey, but let's keep it real. It's tournament play. We're not geared up to play tournament play. I mean, we playing it, but that's not our thing. Our thing is learning the game of baseball, playing it in our league, and getting the job done like most of our guys are doing. All right, so now we're going to talk about the Eagles results from week October 17th, 2015. Kylie didn't send me in the teams that they played. All I have is the results. All right, so Kylie, remember, next week teams. We need teams, all right? The 8U South team, 8U South was 1-1. They lost the first game 9-6, and then they won the second game 13-9, 9-6, 13-9. So that's the 8U South getting it done. 8U North team, they lost both their games 12-1, and in the second game they lost 13-2, 12-1, 13-2. That was in the second game over there. Our 9U South team, 9U South, lost both their games 5-2, and in the second game they lost 14-0, 5-2, 14-0 for 9U South. Come on, boys. Come on. Yeah. Hey, listen. Both you 9U, 8U North and 9U South teams. Come on. It's okay. Let's just keep playing. Keep your heads in the game. I'm going to talk about you guys' records in a second. All right. So anyway, then we had the 10U South team. 10U South. That's Clark's team. They won both their games 6-5. 6-5. Nail biter. Close. Nail biter. 6-5, and they won the second game 13-4. So that's a better showing. 6-5, 13-4. The 10U North team, both of those teams, they beat their opponents. In the first game, they won 17-3, and in the second game, 11-1. 17-3, 11-1. That's a turnaround for you guys. I think that puts you guys back at close to 500. Close to 500. Well, got added a couple more games. So, anyway, the 11U South won both their games 13-4 and 6-1. 13-4, 6-1 for the 11U South. The 11U North team, they split. They won the first game 5-4, and in the second game they lost 12-1. What are you guys? You went to sleep? Wake up! Got to get the something like that in the morning. What was it? That's losing that game 12-1. What are you guys doing? Anyway, then we had the 12U team. They lost both their games 7-4 and 4-3. Got close in the second game, 7-4, 4-3. Our 13U team, that's Bradshaw and his guys, the Juggernauts. These guys just keep on rolling around. They won both their games 14-4, and 20-3, 22-3 in the second game. And then our big dogs, our 14-year-old team, they lost both their games 4 and 14-4 in the second game. 5-4, 14-4 in the second game. Remember, those are the big dogs, 60-90. That's what they play. They play on big league fields. And, in any given Sunday, anything can happen. So we want to give you the standings for this, not the standings, but the how the guys are standing. Not the standing in their leagues. Well, I guess it is the standing in their leagues. We don't know what all the other teams are doing. But in league play, our 8U North is 3 wins, 5 losses. 3 wins, 5 losses. 8U South, it's a flip around. It's 5 wins, 3 losses. 5 wins, 3 losses for the 8U South team. 9U North is 6-2. 9U South is 3-5. 6-2 for the North, 3-5 for the South. 10U, our 10U North team is 3-5. They just won those 2 games over the weekend, so they're creeping back. All right, so they're 3-5. And the 10U South team is 8-3. 11U North is 2-5-1. 11U South is 4-4. The 12U team is 4-3. There's a game in there that I'm not quite sure we missed. Maybe that was the game in which they, the week in which they didn't play, something like that. The 13U team is 7-0-1. They have 1 tie. 7-0-1. That's 8. I believe we're missing 2 games, and those 2 games are going to be from that rained out weekend. And our 14U North team is 2-5-1. So that is the standings for us. That's the rundown for October 17th, Saturday, October 17th. We had the hot stove results and so on. We didn't do too good in the hot stove. It was kind of hot out there. You know what they say, can't stand the heat. Get out the kitchen. That's what I'm talking about. But anyway, we're not going to be in the kitchen too long, because we just cooked up something and we're going to get it out there. It's called Eagle Pie. You know what we do as Eagles? We fly higher than everybody else, and we come down on teams without talent, whole programs without talents, and we squeeze them, and we shake things around and shake things up to bring about the best possible program here in New York City for youth sports. If you want to get any more information about that, just go to yyaa.org. Click on the sport of your choice and sign up. We're getting ready to sign up, and not only getting ready, we are signing up for the winter programs. We don't do baseball in the winter, but we do everything else. So sign up for something and get your kids out there playing, because sports is not just a good thing. Sometimes it's the only thing to keep your kids away from the television. So get them away from that television, out on the fields, into the gyms. Play some sports. And Yorkville is where you want to play those sports at. You can also call us at 212-360-0022. That's 212-360-0022. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joe Patrick, and we're going to close this out. And my co-host Clark Wright, maybe we'll get him in here, and maybe J-Rod before this season is over. They can talk to us about some of the things that go on here in the Yorkville Baseball Academy. So that's it. Yorkville, we'll see you again next week.